What would you do if everyone around you thought you were weak, but deep inside you knew you could destroy anyone who pushed too far? It started on a cold Monday morning, the kind that bit through the skin and made even the toughest men quiet. The gates of Redstone Penitentiary creaked open as a bus full of new inmates rolled in. Among them was Eli Ward, calm, quiet, eyes fixed on the floor. Same orange jumpsuit as everyone else, but something about him felt smaller. Like life had already beaten him before the prison ever could. The guards barely looked at him. The other inmates didn't care. In a place where survival depended on strength and intimidation, Eli simply disappeared. That's exactly why Big J noticed him. Big J was the self-proclaimed king of cell block D, 6'6", almost 300 pounds of muscle, tattoos, and temper. He'd been inside long enough to make fear his currency. Nobody questioned him. Nobody dared. And for Big J, every new inmate was just another way to prove who ran the place. Especially the quiet ones. Especially the ones who looked like they wouldn't fight back. So, when Eli walked into the yard that first morning, hands tucked, shoulders low, Big J grinned. "Easy meal," he muttered. But no one knew who Eli really was. For 15 years, before prison walls and barbed wire, Eli had lived a life most couldn't imagine. He'd trained in silence, mastering control, speed, and precision. Not to fight wars, but to survive them. He wasn't just another inmate. He was a storm pretending to be still. The first week, Eli said little. He cleaned tables, kept to his bunk, ate fast, stayed out of the spotlight. The guards started calling him Ghost. In a place filled with noise and chaos, his silence made him invisible. But to Big J, that silence was an insult. One afternoon in the cafeteria, Jay decided to make his move. He stomped across the floor, towering over Eli's table. Without a word, he slapped Eli's tray off the table, food splattering across the concrete. "Oops," Jay said, grinning. "Didn't see your little dinner there, new guy." The entire room froze. Every inmate turned, waiting. Eli looked at the mess, then at his tray. No words, no reaction. He bent down, picked up the tray, and walked away. Laughter erupted. And just like that, Eli was branded the weak one, the easy target. For days, Big J made him the center of his amusement. He tripped Eli in the hallway, dumped cold water on his bunk, even locked him in the laundry room for hours. Each time, Eli stayed silent, calm, detached. But a few inmates began noticing something strange. The way Eli moved, the way his body reacted even when surprised. Balanced, controlled, like someone who was never really off guard, just waiting. And then came the day Big J went too far. It was a slow afternoon in the prison gym, the only place without cameras. Jay walked in with two of his men, both laughing, both knowing what was about to happen. Eli was alone by the weight rack, wiping down a barbell. Jay tossed a dirty towel in his face. "Clean my shoes," he ordered, smirking. Eli didn't move. Jay stepped closer. "You deaf, Ghost?" I said. "Clean my shoes." The room fell silent. Even the guards across the hall pretended not to see. Everyone knew what happened when Big J got angry. Eli slowly lowered the towel, eyes rising for the first time. Calm, steady. But behind them, something shifted. A glint of something dangerous. Jay didn't see it. He shoved Eli hard against the bench press, metal clanging. "You gonna act tough now?" That was it. Jay swung. A heavy, bone-breaking punch aimed for Eli's jaw. But the punch never landed. In a blink, Eli moved. Fluid, precise. Faster than anyone had ever seen inside those walls. He ducked, twisted, and drove his elbow into Jay's ribs with a sharp crack. Jay gasped, stumbling back in pain. Before he could recover, Eli stepped forward, one strike to the chest, another to the throat. A quick leg sweep, and the giant collapsed to the floor. The gym went silent. Big J, the untouchable king of Redstone, lay flat on the ground, clutching his ribs and choking for air. Eli stepped back, breathing evenly, face unreadable. Then, for the first time since arriving, he spoke. "I don't want trouble," he said quietly, "but I'm done being your game. He turned and walked out. No celebration, no smirk, just silence. That night, word spread through the prison like wildfire. By morning, everyone knew what had happened in the gym. Ghost dropped Big J. It echoed through every hallway. Even the guards started giving Eli a second look. Cautious now, respectful even. But what shook them wasn't just that he won. It was how he won, calm, controlled, not a wasted move. He didn't fight like a thug. He fought like a man who'd spent years mastering himself. Big J limped through the yard for the next week, ribs wrapped, pride shattered. For the first time in years, the king ate alone. Nobody dared laugh. Eli didn't gloat. He didn't change his routine. He still swept the floors, still ate in silence. But now, wherever he went, people moved aside, not out of fear of what he might do, but respect for what he chose not to do. One evening, a young inmate named Luis, barely 18, scared, fresh from county, approached Eli in the library. "They say you were special forces or something," he whispered. Eli looked up from his book and smiled faintly. "Close enough," he said. "Then why'd you let him treat you like that?" the kid asked. Eli closed the book gently and leaned back. "Because patience wins more battles than pride," he said. "Sometimes the hardest thing to do is nothing, until doing something really matters." Luis nodded slowly. He didn't fully understand, not yet, but he felt the weight of the words. Over the next few weeks, something unusual began to happen inside Redstone. The yard fights slowed down. The tension faded. Even Big J started keeping to himself. The guards noticed it too: fewer brawls, fewer lockdowns. It wasn't peace. Not exactly, but it was something close. At the center of that calm stood Eli, the man they once called Ghost. Not because he fought to rule, not because he wanted power, but because he showed everyone that real strength isn't about domination. It's about restraint. It's about knowing who you are and never letting anyone take that away. They tried to humiliate him, but he left them with a lesson they'd never forget. And in that lesson, a strange kind of order was born, not through fists or fear, but through quiet respect. Weeks later, the same young inmate, Luis, passed Eli in the yard and stopped. "Hey, Ghost," he called out with a grin. "You really don't scare easy, huh?" Eli smiled faintly. "Fear's just noise," he said. "Learn to listen past it." Luis nodded. For the first time since arriving, he stood taller. And just like that, Eli's silence became something new, not invisibility but influence. He had changed the prison without ever trying to. So what about you? Have you ever been underestimated, only to prove everyone wrong when it mattered most? Tell us your story in the comments below. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes the quietest person in the room carries the loudest truth.